Today is going to be split up into 3 days. Thank you guys for coming, both people who are doing the training and people who are coming to see what the AV team's all about. My name's Justin, so I'm the audiovisual coordinator. So anything that happens with AV at South, whether it's a classroom or the worship services here or in the worship center, anywhere around the building, I somehow play a part in it. So what is the AV team? If it's anything involved with audio, video, lighting, projection on Sundays and throughout the week. Here's a good example. This is the Getty concert in December 2016. Funny part about this is we actually didn't do any of the AV. This is what we did for that concert. We helped them unload and set up, but we do things like that. This is the kids' Christmas concert, December of last year. This is Easter. If you were around at all during Easter, you know we had a huge production this year. So several pictures from there, a couple of repeats actually. This is the booth. Actually, a really flattering picture of Gary. This is James is running audio. Those are really dark. I'm sorry. I should have brightened those up. Alden was running audio cues for that. Braden was on lights. Dave was on cameras. We had one cameraman. You can see a spotlight operator way far down. That chair kind of closer is for another camera operator. Same thing on that side. These are all just too dark. I'm sorry. I should have brightened those up. The Star Quest is a kids' production that happened in here in May. That was probably one of the most elaborate sets we've ever built. It wasn't quite as big as Easter, but it had a lot of cool lighting elements. I was actually backstage for that production, so I have this shot. But we were trying to get an effect down. Our main villain was coming down the stairs, so we had some fog. We put a voice effect on him. Pretty cool. VBS this past summer in June. I took a group of 4 or 5 of us down to Sweetwater Gear Fest for some classes, to look at some gear. It was a fun day trip. Impact Lansing is a big middle school event here. We used a lot of wireless on that for some reason. I don't know why, but it just ended up happening that way. And this is the busiest the lighting will ever get in this room. We don't do that in here on Sundays, but we have a lot of fun with Impact Lansing. We have a lot of freedom with it. We also do the boring stuff like classroom AV racks. Those of you that work in the school system, this is probably what you deal with most days. But it is just as essential as the stuff in here. So we redesigned that rack. Other behind the scenes stuff, this is from the stage in the worship center. And how many of you go to Second Balanced? Anybody in here? Okay. There's a really awkward spot in Second Balanced. Anybody tell me what that spot is? Yeah, we're waiting for Don. So Don finishes preaching here, and then he goes over to the worship center. There used to be no coordination. Don would just kind of have to sit backstage and are they praying? Do I walk out during the prayer? And there would be a couple times where he would walk out at the wrong time, or they didn't know he was back there, and they would start singing the next song and all kinds of weird things. So anyway, we added this light. It's a nice big LED strip above the booth so that the worship leader can know if Don is praying over here, they've got 2 minutes. So start to kind of wrap up. Don't just jump into the next song. When it goes red, that means stop, Don is ready. And now there's a light backstage for Don and a guy back there to say, okay, you're good, go ahead. All those things behind the scenes to make the service run smoother. So we do quite a bit of things here at South. Let me go back. Where are we? Strangely enough, I don't have any pictures of the actual tent at Southfest. This is more behind the scenes prep work for Southfest. We filled up an entire classroom of gear and stuff that went out for that day. So this is more stuff that you guys probably normally don't see. There is a little seminar that went on that they wanted videotaped, so we videotaped it, and that's coming out within the next few weeks. So how does AV fit into the modern church? Is there any Is there any passage in the Bible that says you will have projection and lighting at all gatherings? No. No. I don't think that's in Acts at all, or, well, any part of the Bible. Can anybody tell me what the tabernacle was?
Traveling temple.
Exactly. Mobile temple. It's a mobile temple. That was Israel's place of worship for 400 or 500 years. So it was a significant thing. They built it in Exodus. God commissioned two men. They had to build all this stuff. They had lampstands. They had lavers, which are fancy words for sinks. They had altars. They had candelabras. They had all kinds of elements that were used for worship. We obviously don't use those anymore, but we still use elements for worship. So what really, the biblical, not backing, I don't want to say like we have to justify why we use AV. There's also a practical issue. If you got a room this big, you have to speak really loud to be heard, and it would kind of wear you out. But these two men, go and read this passage at some point. It's Exodus 31, the first section of it, 1 through 11. These men are tasked with building and supervising the things that are going to be built for worship in the temple. So we do things that enable worship, that help worship. And it's not just worship through singing, it's also worship while you're listening to the message, while you're giving for communion weeks, when you're taking communion. And it's, I think it's a more engaging way to worship. Like if we just had normal lights on, and it was, even if it was just like this the whole Sunday, and we didn't, take away all the blue. If it was just kind of boring, to me that's boring. That doesn't draw me into worship. Not that you have to have it for worship, but it helps. So anyway, I was going to read through all of that, but it's pretty detailed, and we cover it at every AV team meeting. Anyway, read that when you get a chance. So in the big picture of things, actually, before we get to this, let me ask you, how many people do you think are involved in Sunday services on the AV team? If we're fully staffed. Not recently. How many people do you think, just for the chapel? Yeah. 5? 7. This room can actually run with 3 people. Really 4, because you have the producer. The worship center needs 6. But are there any other things that are going on AV-wise across the church? Lance, what do you do on Sunday mornings?
What do I do?
Yeah. How many people are in your booth?
Besides myself, maybe 2 more.
Okay. For slides and maybe lights?
Yeah.
Okay. Tim, what do you do on Sundays in a sentence? Roam the classroom. So there are a few classrooms that have more complicated AV systems than the standard setup for various different reasons. On Sundays, this is, if we're fully staffed, this is what it looks like. So it's separated by room. So you've got, I'm full-time here. Corb is my boss. Corb is head over all the worship and everything that kind of goes on stage on Sunday mornings. Then we've got 5 different places that people serve. The worship center has those 5 positions going on with a service producer, and there are 2. There's 1 on at a time. And they're just, the service producers are in charge of the room for technical aspects. So if somebody has a missing slide, or we need to add an acoustic guitar that wasn't set up for rehearsal, or whatever, they take care of it. They're the first line of defense for technical issues. They also coordinate, hey, we have a ministry moment. What mic should they use? Where do they go on stage? Does the lighting guy know to light up the platform when that guy comes on stage? All those little things that if it's miscoordinated, it just kind of looks bad. So the worship center and the chapel booth are very similar. There's 2 more positions in the worship center because we broadcast that service in a little better way. Those 2 things are kind of automated here in the chapel, and are just, we don't have like a multi-camera system here in the chapel. Youth room is what Lance does. He's the youth room manager. He's got 3 people, audio, front screens, and rear screens. The media room, there are always people in there. They're the friendliest people on the team. Like, I think everybody can nod and say, yeah. They're always happy, especially a guy named Stuart.
They're also always bringing in candy.
Yes. Oh my, they're awesome. Stop by there every Sunday morning if you have a chance. There are also 2 special editors. What they do is they edit the Sunday sermon down to something that's a little more, they don't take stuff out, but they make the transitions maybe a little quicker. They add a graphic, and they fix any audio issues. Really simple edits, but there's some auxiliary roles, a Sunday runner, which we're actually looking for, classroom coordinator, that's what Tim does, a preacher assistant, there's a guy that basically he coordinates the transition when Don goes over to second balanced. Chosen coordinator, right now that's basically Lance too. BSF uses our room on Wednesdays. Right now that's me, so I'm on call on Wednesdays if they ever have a technical issue. So, yeah, Bible study fellowship, sorry. Yeah. So, we've got a lot going on Sundays, and where do you fit in? You can start anywhere on there. Normally, we're going to kind of skip down to next steps for a second. Normally, what I suggest people do is that they shadow a service. So whatever service you normally attend, during that service, go up to the booth and just spend the service in the booth. See what's going on, who's doing what, ask questions. If they're not like, if they don't look panicked, like they're trying to figure something out, ask questions, see like, hey, what are you doing there? Explain to me, why do you have those 2 screens? What are they doing? The next step is then shadow another service in that same room, but come in at the call time. Sorry, wrong slide. Call times. Wow. I swear I do this for a living. Audio and producers come in at 7:30. So they're here the earliest. Rehearsal start at 8, so they get here a half hour early. All other positions get here suggested 7:45. You can come in earlier. As long as you have your station ready to go by 8, I really don't care when you get here, as long as it's ready to go by when the rehearsals start. So if you can get your position up in 5 minutes, sure, show up 5 minutes early. But usually the second time you come in and shadow, you shadow for the whole day, and you're out by 12:15-ish, whenever it takes us to shut down and whenever services end. And that'll give you a good feel for what it's like to serve in that position. For example, lighting has a lot of work to do up front before the service. Slides have a lot of work to do during the service because they're clicking a lot throughout the whole service.
We have a lot to do during the rehearsals and such too, because we're
That's
looking
true.
for any kind of bugs in the slides. We're looking for missing slides,
Right.
missing graphics, missing lyrics.
Right. And audio is working the whole day, yeah. Then once you decide on what you want to do, either let the producer know, or me or Adam, and just tell us, hey, I'm interested in learning lights in balanced. Cool. We'll get you set up with, someone to train with, someone that can show you how that works, and so that you're comfortable running that for a service. We're not just going to throw you and say, okay, have fun, press some buttons, because that would be really intimidating, and it would look really bad for us because if you push the wrong button and you go to the video queue when you're supposed to go to worship and the whole house goes down, that's not what we want. So at some point, I would like to get to know all of you guys. So we'll get coffee or lunch or, I don't know, something. I just want to get to know you guys. Ben, I know you a little bit from, oh, shoot. Name of the class? Journey? Yes. So Journey and Super Bowl parties and stuff like that. And actually, I attacked your wedding. Yeah. Good times. But, I want to get to know you guys. If you're on the team, you're not just some drone that comes in and works. So, and I want you guys to get to know me so that you feel comfortable complaining or, letting me know what's going on, things like that. Plus, we're a small team.
But you're also going to send around that
Yeah. Yeah, I'll do this as we leave the room. General expectations. So call times, that's what we're on now, sorry. Conduct and dress code, there is no dress code. That's kind of the joke. Just look presentable. Shirt, shoes, pants, please. No, Absolutely not. I mean, if you want to, if that's your thing.
I'm actually sort of surprised if you look at balances and something.
If you're on stage, there kind of is.
Yes.
It's funny. Don actually, I'll tell you a trade secret. Okay. Don actually leaves his coat backstage when he leaves Balanced, and he comes over here and he preaches without the coat on, and then he goes back. When he goes back on stage in Balanced, he puts his coat back on.
I thought usually wore the tie for service, took it off just for cheer, then
Yes,
takes the tie off, and then just preaches with the coat.
exactly. Is it Vimal?
Yep.
Yeah, I remembered your name. That was probably a miscommunication on my part.
Do you have any more?
Yeah. Alden, can you grab my, okay.
It said 10, so.
Yeah.
The same question. The bulletin said 10, the slide said 9:30. Which is it?
We're out of packets.
I found it from the
Yeah. Share.
Good problem to have.
What?
Being out of packets is a good problem.
Yeah.
We've got some more right
Okay, there are more.
here. Yeah.
Good.
Well, you can use ours too.
Feel free to get coffee and donuts at any time too. All right. Just a couple of quick practical things. I'm going to show you them now so that you're not panicking when you get there. We use wireless radios. Obviously, I mean, that kind of goes with the name. We use radios on Sundays for communications. Sorry. They are very cheap Chinese radios. They'll talk to you when you turn them on, tell you what channel you're on. Different venues have different channels. I'm always on one, so if there's a problem, tune to one and say, hey, Justin, something is broken. Yeah, along with the static in the worship center. There is a great deal of static in the worship center on channel 1. It's awesome when I go in there on Sunday mornings. If you're on 2, which is the balance channel, very little issue. Push this button to key up and talk. It'll go red. It'll go green when you're when you're receiving. Everybody gets their own headset. That's it. If you're in service, this just going off could be an issue. That's why if you have your radio on, put a headset on. And I can show you that on Sunday morning, or your producer can on Sunday morning. But just to give you kind of a brief overview, that just goes in your ear. That's all. Use this little clip to talk. Because we just don't want radio noise in the service. It can be really, really distracting. There are all kinds of, you get this one, I just give that to you. So it's yours. And they're all clean, they're all new. But they're also very uncomfortable. At least I find them uncomfortable. Some people can wear them for hours, no problem. On Sunday mornings, I usually wear one of these plastic, kind of soft tip security type headsets. If you want to buy one of these, I can send you the link. They're $10, and they're much, much more comfortable. If you really want to look like a cop or like an AV professional, they do sell these. Obviously, this won't work in service, though, because it's another open mic. But just to show you kind of what goes on, the radios will be out for you on Sunday morning. And you'll just have to go get your own headset. But your producer will cover that with you on Sunday. So a couple of quick things. Each position gets a checklist. You have one of these in your packet. You have a sample of 2, so you can see 2 different types. At the top, you'll see which service it is and which position it is. What you need to do to start up, shut things down, I'm not expecting you to understand that. That's part of the training. I'm just showing you every time you come in, you'll see kind of how you start things up and how you shut them down. A list of upcoming things, what date it is, what time, what it is. And at the bottom, there's notes from me. So I think on this one, the Balanced Pro Presenter, that whole balanced service got the note of, hey, a lighting procedure has changed. Make sure you pay attention to that. It's just a way for me to get a quick note to you guys. The feedback section up at the top right, if anything is broken, if you notice anything weird, I am nowhere near omniscient, so tell me if something breaks so that we can deal with it. Or if you want to tell me a joke, those are good too. Or, I don't know, a pun, whatever floats your boat. I do read all of them. Service orders. These are the behind the scenes of, those are also in your packet. These are the behind the scenes of this is what the services run on. So you get a little brief description of that in the worship folder. But this is, I mean, it's quote unquote scripted down to the minute. It's not really that rigid. But this is more or less how things are going to happen on a Sunday. This is last week's service order. Each position is looking for a different piece of information on here. For example, look on the left or on your balanced service order. On the right-hand column, it'll say primary. The lighting guy is going to need to know if it's a song, if the choir is singing, because that changes the lighting cue. If the choir isn't singing, then the choir lights are off. So you're just looking for different pieces of information in there, and that's with the checklist and the service order and training. You're basically autonomous. You can run your position pretty well. As we go into part 3, part 3 is some hands-on training. I've got 2 more things before that. But as we go into that, and I'm going to have you guys fill out, you see it on the AV recruitment thing here, PCO sign up, Planning Center, that's Planning Center Online. It's how we do scheduling. So who is doing lighting on October 8th in Balanced? We schedule out pretty far in advance now. So we've actually got the schedule done mostly through December, right? So not that it's, not subject to change, but you'll know when you're serving if you're on the team. And Planning Center Online is how we communicate all that. I just need to get your email and first name and last name and where you want to serve. So we'll do that. I have an iPad form, so we can do that at any point today. Upcoming AV events. A lot of this stuff is probably going to be over your head or out of your interest at first. Missions conference, there's a couple of small events in there if you really want to help out and get some hands-on experience at some small events. That's a good place to start. The gospel concert, probably that's like a small mini production, so it's a little higher pressure. The Forgotten Men Ministry fundraiser, that's another good place to get plugged in. Put this date on your calendar, AV team meeting number 8, 11/11. That's what? Sorry. I didn't know it was Veterans Day. Sorry. It's only a couple hours, 10 to noon. 10 to noon in here. We do basically it looks exactly like this, except I'm going over what has happened in the last 3 months and what's going to happen. And hey, I have this idea. What do you guys think? You have a big involvement in what happens in the team. So, like if we're thinking about rolling out some new, way of scheduling, what do you guys think of this? 10 a.m. to noon in here. Same thing. I mean, literally same tables for coffee and donuts. I'm a creature of habit. If somebody wants to take over catering, I'll reimburse you. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody looks forward to the Sunday after. Yeah, right. That's true. The good donuts are gone. All right, let's head into part 3. So what we're going to do the rest of the day, I didn't want to take a huge, long time talking. I don't like talking. I'd rather hear from you guys. But you guys need to know kind of what the team is about. So the rest of the day until noon, or if you have to go earlier, that's totally fine. Just make sure you give me your Planning Center info first. What we'll do is we'll break out, and we've got 5 different places where you can learn. If you want to learn audio, stay in here. Scott, raise your hand. Scott's going to be working with audio. You'll actually get to play with some audio live. So we recorded some stuff in multi-track, and you can actually move faders around, hear the difference, play with reverb, all kinds of stuff. Get used to play around with audio. I have 2 guys for Pro Presenter, Dale and Josh. Raise your hands. Dale will be in here in the chapel, so if you think you're going to serve in creative, stay here. If you think you're going to serve in balanced, go with Josh into the worship center. It's slides. What is it like to run slides? Actually, in the worship center, we'll have to play to a track. on Planning Center. Let's do it that way so they can practice timing.
All right.
Lighting, Tim and Alden, raise your hands. These two guys. If you want to do lighting in here for creative, that'd be Tim. Stay in here. We'll work at the board back there. If you want to do lighting in the worship center, Alden, you can go over with him. And if you get done at one position and you want to try another, swap around, rotate, circulate. It's very free-flowing. So if, honestly, if something is boring, don't try to force yourself to be interested into something that you're bored with. Try something else. There's plenty of different places to serve here. Unfortunately, I don't have a trainer for video or broadcast audio. So just the way that things worked out today. Not that you can't learn those things, but just not today.
The video is more art style than it is like technical anyway.
Well, I mean, with every position, there's definitely, do you know how to run the equipment?
Right.
And then there's an art to making it look good. And then there's an art to making it sound good, Lance? Oh, right. And actually, what's Rodolico, right? What's your first name? Anthony. You probably want to go with Lance and get plugged in there. And actually, Ben, it might be good for you to. No, you guys don't do anything.
I don't do anything. I mean, every once in a great while we're in there.
Okay. If you have time, that might be a good thing for you to learn too. Yeah. Personality-wise, actually, I'm just going to let you guys really quickly, in like a minute. What kind of personality type do most audio guys have? Okay. Precise, detailed, analytical, and anal retentive. Lighting. What are most lighting personalities like? Okay. All right. Boundary pushing, a little more artistic. All right, and slides. Slides is the easiest job and the hardest job. It's the easiest because, you're just putting a slide up, but it's the hardest because you have to pay attention, which seems easy, but you have to pay attention the whole service. That's the hard part. You cannot get distracted.
Because it's the most visible aspect of everything.
Right.
Everybody in the congregation sees the slides.
But you also want to be creative too, because I mean we do a lot of coordination like with the light guys.
Yeah, that's true.
Matching your backgrounds and things like that.
Yeah. Good color sense.
Practice helps you learn the song so you can move the slides along in a short period of time.
Yes. Don't be late on slides. Okay, so I'm gonna pray. As you leave, here are the two things I have up over here. There's just a quick form. It's just email address, first name, last name. I'll send you, there's some other questions of like, if you know where you want to serve, balanced, creative, media room, youth, you may not know yet. That's fine. Leave it blank. But if you know for sure, nope, I only want to serve in creative or I only want to serve in balanced, there are some questions there too. This is for shadowing. If you know for sure, hey, I'm available on the 8th and I'm really interested in creative audio, put your name down here and just shadow that week. That's all it is. So creative has 3 positions, audio, pro presenter, or slides. And lighting, balanced has 5 Pro Tools. This is broadcast audio. It's the audio that goes out to the web, to the TVs, to a women's bathroom, maybe. Do we still have that? I don't know. I swear, this is what I do for a living. Audio, lighting, pro presenter, these 3 are the same as those 3. And video switcher, what goes up onto the broadcast. So if you know if you know what position you want to do and when you want to shadow, write your name down and we'll get you scheduled. And we'll send you a reminder of, hey, you signed up to train or shadow this position that date. We'll go from there. Let me pray, and then we'll split. Father, thank you for this church. Thank you for the ministry that it provides to Lansing. Thank you for it being a place where the good news is preached. Thank you for it being a place where we can worship freely without any concern. Lord, I thank you for these men and women who serve on the audiovisual team and who facilitate a lot of that worship and who spread the word in a digital way out over the internet, whether that's through broadcast or editing sermons or making it audible in the room, making it to where people can be seen, putting up slides and lyrics so that we can sing along and worship you in song. Lord, I thank you for the time that all of my current volunteers put in and that all the hard work that they do. Thank you for the trainers showing up here to be able to welcome new people into the team. Father, thank you for the folks who have shown up, who have shown interest in the team. I pray that they would continue to be interested and would find a place to serve here in the AV team. And if not, I pray that they would find a place to serve somewhere here at South or at a some place where your kingdom can be spread. Lord, I pray that the training would go well, that we would communicate effectively, that we would be able to answer questions, and that just small technical problems wouldn't come up, even though this is what we do. There are always issues. Lord, I thank you that we have a place here to serve. I thank you that we have some pretty amazing technology to work with and that make our jobs easier. Lord, we love you, and it's in Christ's name that we pray. Amen.